Welcome back to Banks Thinks. So today I thought I would try the Rory Gilmore reading challenge and see how many of the books that Rory Gilmore has allegedly read I have also read. So I have actually created this reading list for myself to keep track of the books on the side. I made this in Notion because I do think this does save your progress to your browser, but it doesn't save it if you go onto it from a different app. So yeah, it's not really a permanent list. You have to redo it every time. So this is my permanent way to keep track of this. And before, I did mention that this was the book she has allegedly read, because these are all of the 339 books that are mentioned throughout the series on the TV show. So these are not actually books that she has read. I do have a separate list of the books she has actually read, and just letting you know right now, I have not read any of those, but I have read books that were mentioned. So we're going to go through this, and I have my list so that we can actually remember. Some things I actually can't remember whether I've read them or not. I've also been using this to keep track of books that I own. So the books that I actually own are in orange. And then I do also want to do the BuzzFeed quiz, and that one seems fun. But let's do this list first. I've read Alice in Wonderland. I think it is very high time that I do a reread of that. It's one of my favorite stories. The book is a little bit more boring than the shows, I guess, but I do own a really lovely edition that I got for my birthday a few years ago that I have not read yet. I have started 1984 before, but I have not finished it, so unfortunately cannot count that one. I have read Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. This is another one that I read when I was younger, but I could probably do with a reread. Anna Karenina, I really do want to read. A lot of these books I don't really have a big interest in reading much at all. But I'll just talk about the ones that I am kind of interested in or that I feel like talking about. My boyfriend read The Art of War. I think he's read this a few times, so he does own it. Did I actually mark that? No. Okay, I forgot to mark that. I do have a colour for books that he owns as well, so he owns that one. What else we've got? Okay, let's see. Next up, I do own Carrie. I own Carrie, which is interesting for me because I never thought I would own any Stephen King books, but I read On Writing by him earlier this year. I loved it, so I bought Carrie, which is his first book, and I really want to read that. Other books here that I'm interested in are Bel Canto and The Bell Jar. Beloved, quite want to read. Beowulf I have started reading before, but I haven't finished it. Bhagavad Gita looks pretty good and something that I would be interested in reading. Canterbury Tales intrigues me as well, and these two classics. I have read Charlotte's Web. That was one I read for school, I believe. There's quite a few Stephen King books on this list actually, which is interesting. I've heard good things about A Clockwork Orange. Obviously have read A Christmas Carol and seen so many different adaptations of it. I think I watched a new one of that actually last year that I'd never seen before. Anyway, I have no idea what most of these are. The Count of Monte Cristo though, I really want to read the book. I own it. It is a big book, but I love the story and the movie, so that's definitely one that is on my radar. Very intimidated by Crime and Punishment. My boyfriend read this last year, or like finished it last year. Yeah, that is a massive book. But I have read The Crucible. That was one of my favorite plays. That was one we read in high school. I do have this at my boyfriend's house though, and I am quite interested to read this. I've heard like a lot of people when I was growing up read it. I've never read any book by Charles Dickens, which I will probably need to change at some point, but I've read The Da Vinci Code, and I am someone who actually quite enjoys The Da Vinci Code, so don't know what that says about me. One of the few Judy Blooms that I haven't read, I think I've read some of her books when I was a kid, which it's kind of fuzzy, those memories. What's next? Ooh, almost forgot about that. I have read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Emily the Strange. I had a friend in high school who adored Emily the Strange, and she even wanted to change her name to Emily. Emma is next up on my Jane Austen list though, so I do own Emma. Oops, forgot to mark that one. Let's change it to orange. So I do own that, need to read it. It's probably going to be the next Jane Austen that I read. None of those. Okay. I always get those two kind of confused, and now I can't even remember what either one of them is about. I have read The Fellowship. What else? I own Frankenstein. Yeah. Did not know that Freaky Friday was a book, but that seems interesting because I love the movie. Yeah, own Frankenstein, haven't read it yet, but I probably should at some stage. I don't know why, but I didn't know that this was a book. I've read Goldilocks. Really want to read Gone with the Wind. I love the movie. I watched this on a long haul flight. Obviously didn't read it, since that's why I'm not ticking it. Adore The Great Gatsby, and we do own a copy. This was one of my high school books, and some of the kids at my school where I work, they did a play of The Great Gatsby a couple of years ago, and it was so fun, really fun. Okay, I read Hamlet, read Harry Potter's, and we're on to the next page. Haven't read quite a few of Shakespeare's works actually. I should tick more of those off. I've read How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Okay. I'm intrigued to read Hunchback of Notre Dame. I love the story. I think that would be also cool to be able to read Victor Hugo's work in the original French. On my radar of things I'm interested in reading, I love Greek mythology. I'm interested in trying to read Inferno, but we'll see, maybe one day. We own Jane Eyre. That's one that I'm ashamed that I haven't read yet. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I'm trying to prioritize my classics a lot more. The Joy Luck Club, I've heard amazing things about. I think I need to own a copy. I don't, but I really want to. What else have we got? I've heard great things about The Kite Runner. I've watched the movie. Okay. Read Lord of the Flies and The Lovely Bones. Both of those books kind of scarred me. Jeez. I've read My Sister's Keeper. That was a really good book. I've started The Namesake, but I never finished it. That's one I do want to finish, though. I didn't DNF it, but I do want to finish it. I can't actually remember whether I've tried reading The Nanny Diaries or not, but I've watched the movie, so I think I should try it. But sometimes, if I really loved a movie when I was a kid and I try to watch the adaptation, I tried to read the book of the adaptation, I don't like it. So that's happened with a few things like Gossip Girl, Legally Blonde, I think Sex and the City even. So yeah. Nothing here. I really do want to read The Outsiders. Haven't yet. Have read Perks of Being a Wallflower and Dorian Gray. And also Pinocchio. There was like a Afrikaans movie of Pinocchio that I loved watching when I was little. And I've read Pride and Prejudice. Okay. Nearly there. We've read Rapunzel. And Rebecca. Absolutely loved Rebecca. I listened to that on audiobook, so I don't own a copy of that, but I really want to. There are so many pretty editions. I don't think I finished The Return of the King. Like, I don't think I got there with reading it. The Lord of the Rings I owned when I was growing up were all in one giant bind up, and it's not fun reading books when they're all together like that. It's easier for me reading them now that I have the individual books, so we'll eventually finish that. We are rereading them though. I've read Romeo and Juliet. Neither one of these. I do think though that I should read this one. I think my partner owns that one, or his dad. It's at his house, I think. The Scarlet Letter, I read that in high school. It was really good. And you know, when the teacher asks who wants to read the book out loud, I read like the whole entirety of that book out loud to the class because no one else would ever volunteer. I've read Sense and Sensibility. Is there like anything else that I've read? Okay, yeah. I really want to read The Shadow of the Wind. Bit intimidating. We were actually talking about this at work today. My friend's reading this one right now. Okay, another Stephen King. Jeez. I don't think I've read Snow White and Rose Red. I can't remember. It seems familiar, but I think I would have to actually read it as an adult to see whether I've actually read it as a child. Okay. The Time Traveler's Wife I own, but I haven't read yet. And I have read To Kill a Mockingbird. For some reason I thought it was like Catch-22 or something, but it is definitely To Kill a Mockingbird, the one that I read in high school. Have heard really good things about this, and I want to read all of the Shakespeare that's been mentioned. Oh, I think this is the book that Rory like holds up in that one picture that everyone refers to. Yeah, this one, that iconic picture of Rory reading. It's the Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath. I think Hayley Farm has tried to like start reading that in one of her vlogs, but yeah, I don't know whether she finished. And yeah, I don't think I've read any on this last page, except for like, I don't know, Bambi. Is there a book? You know, like I've watched the movie. Is it the same? I need to double check that one. It's a bit of an odd one. Some of these look really weird, like Who Moved My Cheese? Like, what is that? We own The Wizard of Oz and we're going to go watch Wicked, and I only found out recently that Wicked was actually a book first, so I should read those two before the end of the year. We own that one, and Wuthering Heights as well. And that's all. Let's see what my results are. Okay, I did better than 49% of users, but I did not beat the average score, sadly. Okay, let's speed run this BuzzFeed. Okay. Okay, hopefully I didn't skip any. Maybe I did skip one. But I beat 55% of people who took the BuzzFeed quiz. Oh, I thought this would say something fun. Boo, that was boring. But anyway, if you have done the Rory Gilmore reading challenge, let me know down below. Link your video. I'd love to watch it. I'm very curious about this. I've been binge watching people's videos. And if you would like a copy of this list that I've made, I will link my Etsy and Gumroad down below and you can get yourself a copy. If you've watched up to here, leave a coffee/tea cup and a notebook emoji in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. Keep reading, Inklings. Bye!